What is a timeline?
A timeline is a sequence of events.
Like that. So when you think about point A to point Z, can you consider it a timeline?
Not really.
That's all.
Because it doesn't involve time.
Because it needs to be a timeline. Because you got to think about it. Everything has something to do with time. If you go from A to Z, you got B, and you go all the way to Y. And then that time period that expands of that, that's going to be a timeline. If you go from 1 to 10, how do you get from 1 to 10? It takes time to get there. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. So you can look at it from that. So that is why when people say, I'm going to go from point A, I'm going to point, point B. What's the, why do you think it's a big deal to keep track of the timeline?
Um, to know the sequence of events.
Yes. But more so, what about societal needs? What's the purpose for it in society? Why do we need to know? Why is it so important to us to have?
So that we know when things happen.
Correct. Because we need to know when it happened. Two, that's how you can start to figure out why it happened, where it happened. That's where we start using the A, B, B, C. Those are considered what we're using the timeline to do. The most important takeaway from these points is to see how we can make a timeline in our today life. That means, i.e., taking, for instance, what happened in January all the way up until November. What has happened? And we categorize these events. January, what happened? February, what happened? Also, looking like this too. The coronavirus. That's a big thing. That's a huge thing that's going to be recorded for years to come. So that's what we got to do. That's what we got to think about. The next thing too. Tell me something in a timeline that you have seen throughout this year.
Um, the dates.
The dates. Okay. What happened this year for you that you can make into a timeline for yourself?
I began the year with my family.
Okay.
Then COVID hit.
Okay.
Then the spring semester ended. Then summer started. Then I had classes in
Okay. What month did those start?
January and March with the COVID. When did April my spring semester stopped and
Okay. So you see how you took those events and you categorized those in a month. You see how we can start to transition to a timeline, start making the things to how we make it relevant in today's society. The next thing, we look at too, how this relates to modern day society. Again, this is the most important thing in history, is how can we take those events, record those events, and see, how the importance of those. Those are the most repetitive ways to talk about time. So right now I'm going to get some piece of paper and a pen, and I'm going to write down exactly those from January all the way up until current moments now, and see how they go for you.
you just started a timeline.
A timeline from January to now. of the events that happen in your life, and most of all, and this is what I want you to take away from the purpose of the timeline. What made it worthy? What made it really worthy for you to record that on your timeline?
Comes up with all things.
You see how when you spoke about your timeline, you said only a couple things. But when you start writing down, you see things that are more worthy to actually write down because subconsciously, when you start writing, more things pop out because it's worthy enough for you. All right. So you have something for the month of, let's see what you got. Month of April.
The spring semester ended
Why is that worthy enough for you to know?
because it was over.
Because it's over. What about May?
Summer started on my birthday.
Why is that important?
It was my birthday.
It's your birthday. You see how it's worthy for you?
Yes.
It's good to note those things so you can, practice. Like another thing. That's pretty good. So now can you give me the understanding of what we're talking about, like analyzing it. So far, exactly why a timeline is important. Wait, tell me that.
Something like it.
The importance of it.
Because you get to see all of the events that happen each, like at each important time frame
Okay.
in the order, time in order.
Okay. So now that we understand that, let's start talking about American history. Um, when I mean by American history, North America, United States. So, what do you know so far of the beginning of the United States?
They came over and it was 1563 or something like that. And they came over and met at the house and all this stuff and just had Thanksgiving and the Mayflower colonized and
Okay, like that. What was the main purpose for you knowing that? Right, it's because you had to realize um, certain things that's transpired over time. Those events didn't just happen immediately. Those happen. This has happened, and this has happened, and then this has happened. What we want to know, we don't want to go too far in it, is that we, as American nationalities, came in around, let's see,
was it 15 something?
about 1500s. The reason why I say 1500s is because they had breaking parts, and that's where you look at your book for Dr. Smallwood. And when you see how Dr. Smallwood breaks it down in Berkeley County, and you look at also in the book here, I give it to you right here. But go ahead and turn your book into chapter 3. Alright. So you see how you go to chapter 3, and the first thing it said is that people from England, which we're going to use that term on, people from England came here in the early, you know, 1600s, most importantly 1607, 1608. That's when it's documented. However, you know, they had different charts made here before, but they didn't actually make any type of paper, you know, document here. And again, that's when we look at some other books, and we don't talk about that one. But more so importantly, what we want to look at is how the book denotes how they came here 1607, 1608, and their first initial ideas, you know, it comes down to a government was the Mayflower Compact. And then that's when we started to document. See, the most important reason why timelines are important is so we can know what happened. And they took the time out to realize how important it is to document things and to understand that this timeline is very important. We will know exactly when, exactly where, how many people came, and so forth. Not just an estimated number. So that's what we look at too as well when we look at our book. It says here in chapter 3, so we're going to go to the chapter 3, An African American Odyssey by Dr. Hahn. So that's where we're at right now. The reason why I want to go to African American is we want to know exactly, because we know when they came here from England. They came here from England about early 1600s, most so 1607. Well, you look at where it says in Dr. Hahn's book, is that we came here around 1619. That's when we're documenting, right? That's when we're documenting as well. But we know for a fact there could have been possibly some people here earlier that has not been documented to be placed in timelines. This reason why the timeline is very important. Because so we know things. We just can't go, you know, places blind. We actually got to see. So with that, we're going to look at how we document. How do you think we document things? We just say word of mouth, or do we actually write it down and have a stamp to see it?
I think it's kind of like we had word of mouth and paper after a while. They just start writing books down after a while.
Which one do you think is more efficient?
The writing stuff down.
Writing stuff down. Great. See how on your paper you wrote it down, and now that you can keep an actual hard copy of that. Now we got everything digital, where you just go ahead and just type it up, have it in an email, and then go ahead and save it. That way it's still efficient, but it's nothing that ever beats hard copy. So that's something for me personally. So always keep a hard copy. Even though we're you know, on our books, the United States History and Geography, Volume 1, that's what we're going off of, because again, this is a American history. But I'm also incorporating African American history because I want to show you that it wouldn't be possible without, Irish, Americans, African Americans, so forth in the previous history. We'll talk about those things when we get there, but we want to know what was going on at this beginning of this time. So that's what rolls into. So that's more stuff for tomorrow and this week to come, so we can, knock those stuff out. And the next thing we're going to talk about too, before we go ahead and end this, is do you think you're equipped to know that, if somebody comes up to you and say, hey, what's the timeline and what's the purpose of it? Do you think you can actually regurgitate every information that I've explained to you.
Yes.
Okay. How so? So I gotta ask you how so I can actually test your brain.
When you actually say it.
Just say it.
Oh, okay. So, a timeline is a sequence of events where we know what happened at each time in the particular order, and it's written in already.
Okay. Do you think that things that's recorded is important?
Yes.
Why is it important?
Because we could go back and look at it.
Okay. And things that are recorded in history, is it worthy enough to be recorded?
And so saying,
The things that's recorded in history already in the timeline, do you think is worthy enough to be recorded?
what do we record it in now?
Exactly. It's just a trick question, see if you get twisted. So those are the things you see. Alright, so that's pretty much it. That concludes this part of the lecture. The Epson projector is down, so I couldn't have it on. Other than that, we can go into groups, and we'll go ahead and make sure you guys talk about different timelines. So everybody in your group is going to make sure you guys get a paper, right? I'm gonna, the class leader is going to pass those out. When he passes out, you guys going to have 4 different spots. And those 4 different spots, all 4 of you are going to go from January all the way to November. From January to November, you guys will place in exactly what has transpired within this year from all you guys. So that way it overlaps, and you see different things. Because just because you say something, like in the book it says, America was founded in 1607 and so forth, and the first colonizer came here and started to settle. So you look at that and then you say, okay, what else happened in 1607 in France? You see how things overlap, and I'll show you how important this is to understand these things. Because just because you think it's important to you, it may not be important to somebody else, even though it is recorded. Because again, different histories of events. These are some things you need to know. The sequence of events happen over time. You just gotta understand those things. Other than that, let's go ahead and bring out into our groups.